Welcome to the Low Stakes Podcast. With ticks are hot, the negus smoke low and slow, and the stories are always medium rare. Hosted by Jeff Avgaris, fisherman and backyard barbecue master. Alongside co-host Dave Lodwig, a Star Wars-loving, baseball-obsessed pitmaster. And produced by the outdoorsman himself, Nate Cross. Quite possibly the greatest name in podcast. This is the Low Stakes Podcast.
We're back.
And we're back.
June 29th, 2026. It's a rainy day in Missoula, Montana, but we are here. We're like a machine. Rain, we're like the post office, man.
Don't ever compare me to the post office.
We're disgruntled and unhappy and ready to strike.
And behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever watch that movie? You guys have seen the Postmaster or Post with the Kevin Costner one?
Oh, yeah,
Nope.
The Postman.
The Postman, that's it. Well, a horribly wonderful movie. Like it was like, or a wonderfully bad movie or whatever, however you want to look at it. It was kind of a fun movie, but Kevin Costner, man. Whew.
True story, since we go off on tangents. A couple years ago, I was refinishing my driveway, and I had a company out, and they put an epoxy coat over it, which is awesome. I highly recommend it to anybody.
It does. It looks great.
Yeah, I know, and it's so resilient, and when you pressure wash it, everything just comes right off. But while the company was pouring it, my mailman would come by and refuse to deliver my mail because the truck was they were using to apply the epoxy coat was parked directly in front of my driveway, and my mailbox is just to the side. It wasn't actually blocking my mailbox, but he couldn't easily pull his truck up to it. So for him to deliver the mail, he would have had to stop and get out of the truck to put it in there.
God forbid.
And so by day 3, maybe it's day 4 of him not delivering my mail, and I was actually expecting a package, I saw him drive by, and he didn't even stop. And so I got in my truck, and I followed him. And when he stopped, I pulled around, and I blocked him from going. And I got out of my truck, and I'm like, give me my mail.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, whoa. And I said, is it really that difficult for you to get out, walk 4 feet over to my mailbox and put my mail in my box? And he's like, well, I don't have time to be doing stuff like that. I don't have time to be getting out. I'm like, that's your whole job. That's all you have time to do.
Yeah.
And
Heavy time restraints on those postal workers.
Yeah. So I actually had to contact the postmaster here in Grand Missoula, Montana, and complain about him. And so the post office, they sent me a written apology. Yeah.
Handwritten?
Handwritten? No.
Oh,
Yeah.
bummer.
Personally signed by the president.
Darn.
If that doesn't sound like a segment for this show, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I know. We should have what grinds my gears.
We're going to do that every week.
Yeah.
Dave's sitting on his lawn, just waiting for that postman to come by.
I need
Just waiting.
justice.
I was concerned because like you follow somebody in Montana and like that's liable to be a whole different story.
There was a point where I'm following him. I'm like, wait, is this a federal crime? Like, that's a federal agency, and I'm about to impede the work of a federal agent. So.
Oh yeah, that's something. We're gonna go ahead and skip over the Red Sox Yankees this morning because I'm a better person than that, and in a season where the Red Sox are terrible, I should gloat because it'll probably go back to crap tomorrow or today. But what I do want to talk about is so we haven't talked too much about faith and church and things like that on here quite yet. But yesterday we're at church. Dave and I have talked about this morning.
I was there.
You were there. Yep. Dave's up giving his message and sitting there with my wife and my daughter and Dave's daughter. And halfway through the service, the power dies in the church. It
Nice.
just completely
It was
dies.
a loud pop.
It was. It really was.
And everything just shut off.
The most awesome part though is that the blinds were open behind all of us sitting out there, and but nothing behind Dave. So it's completely dark behind Dave. But Dave reads from his iPad. So it dies, and there's this glow on Dave. You can't see
Like
it.
when you're 8 years old and you're doing sleepovers with your friends and you hold the flashlight for telling scary stories.
It was just like that.
And we have one little candle display on our communion table up at the front of the church, and that was like the only light I had until like I remembered probably 5 minutes after the power went off that there's 2 windows on either side of the stage. So I went over and I opened those to try to get a little bit more light in there.
Yeah. It worked. It was a lot lighter up there once you did that. The funniest part, though, was that Dave froze. And everybody did because the power just died and there's a loud pop. But because of the glow and him sitting there like frozen for a good 5 seconds, it was like, I wish I would have taken a picture of it. It was like hilarious, And you were discussing the definition, and I don't remember the person's name, but you were discussing the definition of their name. You were right about to say the definition of this name, and that's when it died. And I was like, somebody didn't want you to tell us the definition of that name.
It was a weird moment. It was a weird moment. Public meetings are so dependent upon technology now.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. We're talking about church, but it could be a town hall meeting or a city council meeting. You're so dependent on microphones and screens to convey information. People are no longer just audio learners; they have to be visual learners, and so for all of it to just die, it was like disconcerting because it was like, I don't know what to do, And so luckily, I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but I have a very loud and obnoxious voice. And so,
we know.
Yeah.
You should see the levels on the soundboard over here. We've got Jeff, Nate, Dave.
Red. So I'm able to project in a large room like that. So I took 5 seconds to gather myself, realized I subtly said, hey, if anybody could just check the circuit breakers over here. And then we just steamed ahead.
Yeah.
And we finished church old school,
in
a room with no amplification, no video, no lights, and just we did it. And
it kind of reminded me, I like I said, we were talking about this morning. I really like it. It reminded me of our Christmas Eve, the candlelight service. And because everybody, as soon as it went dead, somebody in the congregation was like, keep going. Dave's like, okay, give me a mic. I don't need a mic. I'm going to go.
I did a service a long time ago where I was preaching on Matthew chapter 5 from the Sermon on the Mount, where Christ says, you're the light of the world. And I did it in total darkness. And so I had everybody in there. The lights went. I told them, we're going to do this in the dark. And then I preached without notes. And at the end, when I was culminating the effect that light has on darkness, I lit a single candle in front of me. And it's crazy to go from complete darkness like that to a single source of light. And it was just like you could see just like how visceral it was for people when that light hit coming out of total darkness. And it was, I don't know, it was really powerful, but that was intentional.
Yeah.
Yesterday was
had a little bit
not
of prep for that one.
Yeah.
It's great though. And you recovered awesome. So,
Well, thank you, my friend.
you're very welcome.
So,
Thank you again for being there.
Yes.
What was it? What happened?
I don't know. The whole city block went off.
Oh, really?
And then right before I started to head out, the power came back on. And so it was, I don't know if a squirrel chewed through a transformer or what.
One can only hope.
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, that's usually what happens.
It is.
They're running on that line and,
They make the connection that's not supposed to be made.
yeah, they arc and you find a foot and some hair later on and you're like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Alvin
like
went out
barbecue.
in style,
Well, Dave, give us our first sponsor.
There's two types of men in life, those who like to look and smell their best and Al-Qaeda.
Wow.
Over at MysteryMeadows.com, you can find the best in men's healthcare products. Do you guys know how many microplastics are in the average bottle of aftershave?
13.
I don't.
Billion.
Maybe you guys are right. I have no clue whatsoever. But I do know that all of the products at Mystery Meadows are 100% free of microplastics, which is something that keeps me up at night.
Mm-hmm.
Visit mysterymeadows.com today and start your journey to looking your best.
I just want to point out the drinking vessel that Dave has
Mm-hmm. Yep.
is also microplastic free.
It's like I'm throwing my Keurig pods in the garbage. I don't have to care about these anymore.
So today we're talking about, we got a big 4th of July coming up. 250th anniversary of the United States of America, which if you're a history buff, we didn't actually sign anything on the 4th of July, but that's our day. So I think it was like the 8th or 10th of July we actually did all the signing. But anyways, 250th anniversary. And today we want to talk about, what historical event makes us feel like, the pride of Montana, of United States of America,
Mm-hmm.
and our anniversary. And when we think back, what is that? What does that mean to us? We all thought up a couple different ones. We'll see if we get through all of them or not. But Dave, why don't you lay us off? What do you think?
Well, I got two. So my first one is September 19th, 1796. History buffs, what happened that day?
I don't know.
You're trying to read my notes.
I am.
Down.
Yeah. I can't read the right way. So
That was when George Washington's farewell address as president was published in newspapers across the eastern seaboard.
mm-hmm.
So, in trying to think of like the most significant days in American history that really define what it means to be an American, I realized, a lot of us view America from the top down when it comes to leadership. And we were the first major world power to not have a king. And that stems from this whole idea of independence.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't want a king. And the Boston Tea Party was a revolt against monarchy and unfair taxation. And it was an ingrained part of who we are as a country from the beginning.
The Boston Tea Party, kind of like this last weekend.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to say one number. Okay, I will freely admit how angry I was last night because they blew that game. Yankees blew that game last night. And I was like, just win one so I don't have to listen to Jeff tomorrow. And I was so angry that they lost that one in extra innings, and Fernando Cruz just blew it. But then I gathered myself and I quickly looked at the standings. 11 and a half games. That's how big of a lead the Yankees have over the Red Sox in the American League East.
That's very true.
So does losing a 4-game series against Boston hurt? Of course it does. But we're still up 11 and a half games over those last place losers.
There's no doubt about
Last
it.
place loser.
Yeah.
I know. It's got a good ring to it, doesn't it?
It's the hardest part is that I know the Red Sox suck, but you have to accept the fact that your team lost 4 to probably the worst team in American League.
The point of this podcast today is to talk
It's
about
America's
America's
250th.
history.
This is America as a guest. We're talking baseball.
Oh
now.
my gosh.
Go ahead.
The
Sorry.
pathetic sadness of Red Sox fans. We're hopelessly in last place, but man, we took those 4 games against the Yankees.
That's
and
right.
so,
We're
yeah.
back, baby. We are
We're
back.
So going back to this idea of monarchy, if you're not aware of American history, Washington served as commander-in-chief of the colonial army during the Revolutionary War. And in 1782, after the end of the war, there was a lot of infighting amongst former soldiers and the new American Congress over back pay. And there was so much anger on the part of the soldiers that a few high-ranking soldiers in the army actually pleaded with Washington to become king.
Mm-hmm.
And his response was to resign as commander-in-chief. He was so adamant against not being king of America. And the importance of his resignation after he was elected as our first president and then served a second term was he had reached his mid-60s by getting towards the end of his second term. And the men in his family did not live generally past 70 years old. And so he had a legitimate fear that he could potentially die in office. And he voiced this, that if he were to die in office, it might set the precedent that our president was a lifetime office, and which essentially would make it king.
Mm-hmm.
And so he intentionally, for the good of the country, stepped down after his second office. Or a second term of office. I think a lot of times people assume that the 2-term limit on presidents has just always been a part of our country. That's only 75 years old.
Mm-hmm.
FDR.
Yeah, it was passed after FDR. The 22nd Amendment was passed in 1951. Washington simply set the precedent, and it became a sort of unwritten rule all the way up until 1951 that you would never serve more than 2 consecutive terms or 2 total terms as president of the United States. It was like a gentleman's agreement, and it was because of George Washington. I think Abraham Lincoln is our greatest president, but I think Washington is our most important president because he established what America was. It was not a monarchy. It was never going to be a monarchy. It was about duly elected officials. And if you actually read his farewell address, it's kind of sobering because it reminds us of how far we've come from his dream. Yeah. He specifically writes in there that we should never think of ourselves as statesmen before countrymen. So we shouldn't think of ourselves as Montanans or Idahoans? I don't know. Washingtonians.
Washingtites.
Washingtites. Dentites. We should never think of ourselves as that ahead of thinking of ourselves as Americans. We are Americans first. And he explicitly says in there, he actually calls out partisan politics, that we should never be so obsessed with our individual political parties that we think of them above the good of the entire country.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a power. If you've never read his farewell address, you should read it because it's a powerful testimony to really the person that helped shape what it means to be America.
Yeah. And that tells you that even back then, if he was speaking to that, those were things that were happening back then.
Oh, yeah. He saw the pressure. I mean, America in its fledgling was already starting to fall into partisan politics. You had the Federalists and then the Democratic Republicans, which the irony in that, right?
Right. And there's technically 3 because they're the Whigs.
Thing, too. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a good one. And that
my
is
number one.
That's kind of the basis of our country. So it's hard not to think that. Nate, what's one of yours?
I'll start early American history as well with one that I have personal connection to. And that would be Paul Revere's Midnight Ride. Mm-hmm. You know, the story of Paul Revere's Midnight Ride is obviously legendary. Can anyone name the other riders?
Ghost? Or Pale?
Different. Yeah. No, one of the other riders, there was multiple riders. It was not just Paul Revere. And actually, this was not Paul Revere's first ride either. He did this many times. But one of the other riders on the most famous of these was William Dawes. And through different genealogy tracking and records, we have traced our family lineage back to William Dawes. And of that contingent of riders, William Dawes was the only one who made it to his destination without being captured by the British. And so I think, oftentimes Revere is credited with kind of the beginning of the revolution, saving the country, because if the British had the opportunity to achieve their their goal of taking Lexington and Concord and all of the ammunition stores and weapons and powder and everything, as well as several important early leaders, there's a very real possibility that the revolution would have failed.
Yeah.
And so I think rightly so, Revere is credited with with saving the revolution even in its infancy, but right alongside him was a member of our family, William Dawes. And cool. So that's always been special to me. I don't know if it was, second grade or something like that. We had to do the report on a famous member of your family, because everyone has someone. And that was the guy I did a report on. And it was pretty cool to find that out and realize that that's a little bit of my awesome. My family history.
That's really cool.
Jeffrey?
Mine is a person's name. And I'm a World War II buff. I love World War II. I think it's the culmination of the greatest generation. It's everything that encompasses what Americans stand for. Even though outside of Pearl Harbor, there was no warring on American soil. I guess technically a little bit on an island in Alaska, but outside of that, we fought everywhere else. But you would think Eisenhower, people think of Eisenhower, and Eisenhower was obviously a huge force. But I think George S. Patton. And Patton is an interesting character because it's not only, he's famous for, his Third Army moving the fastest and farthest in war history to go rescue, in quotes, the 101st from Bastogne. And he had a big part in the Bulge, and he had a big part in Europe and Africa. But the thing about Patton is I think he encompasses America, because it wasn't just, full force ahead. It wasn't just winning battles. He lost a lot of battles too. He was a kook. And I think our country is a lot of kook too. I mean, he was convinced that he was reincarnated, that he fought in the Julius Caesar days. He was just he was a war family. His family fought clear back to the Civil War and probably before. But he was just an interesting character. So the diversity of him is not just, it's the pride that you hear about in these, he's a general, he's a full force ahead. I mean, all the records show that the Nazis were more afraid of him than anybody else. I mean, sure. The argument for D-Day was that Hitler was convinced that Patton was going to come in north of there and,
Calais.
Yeah. And so that's where he built up all of his forces. And so the forces were in Normandy were not as strong. And because, it's a long history to that. We built up a bunch of a fake city of armies.
Balloon tanks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But he, because Hitler, they were afraid of him. Rommel was afraid of him. He knew that he could, he was as good as it got. Montgomery was a good general, but it was all about Patton. So my first one is just George S. Patton, his name, who he was, the battles he won, his history. He screams America to me. I mean, you see a picture of Patton, it's with his helmet on with the star on it. And and then the way he died too was sad. Now he's still buried in Europe. So yeah, Patton.
World War II is always fascinating because the initial, after obviously December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor happens, and so it awakens
the sleeping giant,
which was Admiral Yamamoto.
I believe so.
Is credited with saying that. So many of the key battles that were fought came down to just luck.
Totally.
For America.
Mm-hmm.
Doolittle's response was absolutely just harebrained. It served zero military function.
Absolutely.
But it was such a rallying point for America. It did little to nothing to turn the tide of the war except grow American morale. And then you get the Battle of Midway, which on paper we should have never won. And came down to the importance of military intelligence to be able to win the Battle of Midway. And there was just the storming of Normandy. If you've ever seen the beginning of Saving Private Ryan, the fact that we were able to do that when the Germans had the far better position in all of that. It's just crazy. So there's maybe God just favors America. Hey, there it goes.
All right.
All right.
I was going to say, at what point does it stop being luck and start being providence?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you have to, because you're totally right.
I
There
know.
are example after example of like that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Even with Patton, there was many times where it was like, there's no way, like that should not have happened, and yet it did.
Yeah. You know, we're not an America First podcast, but it is our 250th anniversary, and there's
we're proud of our country.
Yeah, we're proud to be Americans. Our apologies to all of our Dutch listeners out there.
We have a couple French listeners.
You ridiculous wooden shoes. But we do appreciate being American.
You know, it's funny. Do you guys watch Bill Maher at all?
When there's a relevant clip on YouTube.
So I don't watch his whole show, but I'm the same thing. I watch clips. And he had a thing this last week, which I thought was great. And he talked about, because Bill's a kook. I mean, he's just, you know, he's all over the place. Everybody hates him and everybody loves him. And it's a weird place to be. But he had a thing about, and this series of videos about all these people that came from other countries that had a perception of the United States. And all these videos that people are posting, they're like, this is the greatest country ever. Like one guy walked into Walmart and he's like, this is like an amusement park, you know? And, you know, one guy ate barbecue, a Korean gentleman ate barbecue in Texas for the first time. He's like, this is the best I've ever had, you know? And his point was, it's like, you know, if you live here, you take a lot for granted.
Yeah.
And when people come here, they have a perception from the outside that are painted by media or social media, whatever it is. But when they come here and actually see that we're not just the Wild West and shooting each other on the street, and it's just a crap hole that is
Depends
actually
on where you go. Chicago.
Yeah. But it's like the best. You know, in my biased opinion, it's the best country in the world. And you know, we can make the argument that people are trying to get here hard, so a lot of people think that. So it's interesting. If you still haven't seen the clip, it's pretty cool. Bill does a good job with that.
My wife and I were thinking of places we want to visit, you know, planning future vacations, and she wants to really go to Croatia, the coastline in Croatia. I want to visit Cardiff, Wales, because my last name is Welsh, and I want to go to the quote-unquote motherland.
I'm sorry.
I know. I didn't pick it. But I came to realize, you know, I have been able to, quote unquote, travel the world a little bit. My goal before I die is to visit all 7 continents. I've been to 3 out of the 7 so far. And I need to do a deep dive into Europe. But what I've discovered in my journey so far, to your credit, is visiting other countries, they either adopt things they believe to be indicative of America, or you know. So I go to Israel, and I'm trying to prepare myself. Everybody's worried about me because this was at the height of ISIS, right? And I'm trying to let everybody know, like, I'm 500 miles away from where ISIS is cutting people's heads off.
Yeah.
You know, I'm relatively safe, but everybody was worried about me. And I land in Tel Aviv, and we start driving, and the first 2 things I see is an Ace Hardware and a Burger King. And I'm like, oh, okay. You immediately feel at home. When I'm in Africa and land in Nairobi, there's a KFC. And I'm just like, oh, you know, so there's this... There is a wide ripple of American influence that affects our whole country, or our whole world. It goes beyond our country. And to your point, a lot of the rest of the world emulates America and is fascinated by it, despite our wrinkles and our flaws and all of that. And so, you know, to all the unpatriotic people out there, suck it. America.
I've had a chance to visit several other countries around the world as well, and there are aspects that maybe I prefer this over, you know, the bread in Germany.
Oh yeah.
Oh, incredible. Yeah. I still want to live there. Like, it doesn't matter what's so incredible about wherever I'm at. I always want to come back to the United States.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's okay if people. Again, this is from social media, and I don't remember who recorded it, but people do those on-street interviews with like young people and stuff. And so this last week, some guy, he did an interview with these two young gals, and they were a flamboyant couple of young people. And so they were, as young people are. I mean, it's always been like that. Like, it's no worse today than it has been in the past.
But of course.
You're dating yourself here.
Exactly.
But these two young gals were like, this country sucks and everything else. And the guy was like, all right, here's the hypothetical. I'm going to give you a plane ticket.
Oh, I watched this. That was incredible.
Yeah, to wherever you want to go. You just tell me where you want to go. We're going to buy you a ticket. You can go there. That would be in a hypothetical.
A one-way.
A one-way. All expense paid. We'll give you the initial rent so you can set yourself up, everything. Where would you go? And they stumbled all over themselves, and they both admitted they're like, well, I wouldn't go anywhere. This is where I would stay. And it's like you can dislike aspects of where you live and want to change those, and that's okay, without completely dumping on the whole fabric of the country you live in. You can have pride and not dump on it. You know what I mean?
There's a uniqueness to the quote unquote American dream that you just can't find it in other countries across the across the world. It's just so unique. So that brings me to my second thing that I believe is uniquely American. And encapsulates what it means to be American. It's not one of our greatest hits, as we were talking about when it comes to great points in American history, but it was something that I witnessed, and I thought, yeah, this is what it means to be American. And it happened on March 30th of 2003 in Seattle, Washington. Any guesses?
March 30th of 2003
in Seattle, Washington.
Seattle's basically Canada, so what could be American coming out of Seattle?
Well, it looks like our demographic is going to end at Spokane, Washington now. Thanks, Nate. It was WrestleMania 19.
Oh,
in Seattle, Washington. And that show, I still remember it. It kicked off with Limp Bizkit playing live their Hokey Pokey song. Move in, now move out, hands up, now hands down, and you have to follow all the instructions. And it was the intro for The Undertaker. And then The Undertaker comes out after Fred Durst and these girls dancing with him and made their way down to the ring. And they're just like, yeah, keep rolling, 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 rolling. And The Undertaker comes out on the stage behind him, and he's on a Harley with this giant American flag hanging off of the back of it, and then pyro goes off behind him, and he rides his Harley down there. And I thought, this is the culmination of Washington's dream.
That's what he had in his mind.
It's everything that represents America.
Yeah.
That is the one thing, and to my point, Americans love spectacle.
Yeah, they do.
They love spectacle. The UFC event that just happened at the White House, I've seen so many people online call it white trash and make fun of it. And I'm like, you just don't get it.
No.
You're never going to get it if you have that mindset. Americans love that stuff.
They do.
They love combat sports. They love spectacle.
Wow.
WrestleMania to me is probably the most uniquely American crowd drawing event that you can ever find.
Yeah.
It is. There is something about it that defines America for at least the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Just Hulk Hogan coming out to Real American.
Hey, brother.
Hold on, dude. Hold on, dude. That was in my contract. There's promo Hogan and then conversational Hogan.
Yeah.
And everybody knows promo Hogan. You got to take your vitamins, say your prayer. The Ultimate Warrior's behind him, having some sort of conniption. And, cocaine was rampant back in the late 80s back then. And, but everybody knows how to do Macho Man. just all of that, pro wrestling. And there was a guy in our church who passed away. He's an older guy, but he used to say, pro wrestling is the last true American sport.
Yeah.
It's the only pure sport we have left. And he's so serious about it. But it's the spectacle of it all.
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit, The Undertaker, a flag, pyrotechnics in Seattle, Washington, in front of like 60,000 screaming fans. That's what it means to be American.
I love that.
I was not expecting that, but
I wasn't either. I don't have
take
much
it.
for that.
That was good.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. Nate, what's your second one?
I'm going to go backwards a little bit, and this might step on some toes, but hey, here we go. Westward expansion, just kind of in general, right? The Oklahoma land rush, which was so perfectly memorialized in Tom Cruise's best movie, Far and Away. Or the California Gold Rush, the exploration of the Yukon Territory in Alaska, and even things here right in our own state, in the state of Montana. I think it's something that no other country in the world had the opportunity to experience. I mean, yes, you've got land masses like Russia, Siberia, things like that, but it's never been explored in the same way. It's never been a land rush to get to the far northern reaches of Siberia. The only reason you go to the farthest northern reaches of Siberia is if you're getting sent to a gulag, right? And every other country in the world doesn't have the same opportunity that Americans had in westward expansion. And starting kind of with like Lewis and Clark, Louisiana Purchase, and then just snowballing from there all the way up until the mid 1900s with Alaska.
Yeah.
I think homesteading was only closed off in the 80s in Alaska. I don't know exactly when, but I think that's something that when you talk about things that define America, the idea of westward expansion of you can go and you can do something that no one else gets the chance to do. You might die doing it, but if you're successful, you've got your 80 acres and your little homestead, and you've created an entirely new life for your family. That's not available for anyone else in the world ever.
Yeah.
And it was the United States that provided that.
It sort of cracks me up when people decry westward expansion and America going out and quote unquote conquering the land that they had purchased, and there's the tension between that and the indigenous people. But do you know where Americans got the idea to go out and colonize?
From
Europe.
Yeah.
Right. We were descendants of Europe, and we're talking going back thousands upon years of European culture. Europe constantly fought wars to claim land so that they can expand their kingdoms. And so that was not a uniquely American agenda. That was just an ingrained part of what it meant to be human for those initial people that settled our country, is you expand your land.
Absolutely.
And
There was a difference, though.
yeah.
And you already mentioned it, purchased.
Yeah.
America is the only country in history that has ever purchased land from the people that they are quote unquote conquering.
Yeah. And there was, Lewis and Clark, there was cooperation with the indigenous people along their journey. Sacagawea is a incredibly important part of that story. And
they would have been lost and dead without her.
Oh yeah,
100%.
And Clark adopted her children after she died at a young age. So it wasn't like she was looked down upon along that journey. She actually risked her life to save important items of the journey as they were fording one of the rivers that they were crossing, and she earned the respect of everybody, and they absolutely adored her. And when she took sick and died, Clark adopted her kids. I think he was living in St. Louis at the time, And
Yeah, America has its dark spots, but Western expansion is not one of those.
It's it's not uniquely American, but it's the insatiable desire of Americans to expand, to press our boundaries, to create innovation. Those are all the motivating characteristics that brought that. Getting rich. These days it seems like it's a bad word to say. Making money and being rich. I think it's success. That's in America. You still have that opportunity that you can go from nothing to a ton, and with the right luck and working hard and the right ideas, and that's what that expansion and I totally agree with you, Nate, is the centered around, is that insatiable desire that I want a chunk of land of my own. I have nothing, but I can go out and I can homestead and I can make a little ranch and I can make a future for my family and I can pass it on to my kids. And that's
if
really
they
good
ever open up homesteading in Alaska again, I'm gone. I am so gone.
you need to watch that movie Into the Wild.
Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, where he starves to death in Alaska.
Still a good movie.
I would say, like, the thing that's remarkable and admirable in westward expansion was the ambition of it.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to the relative size of European countries, what we were attempting to do, which was establish a federation of individual states as one nation from coast to coast over about 3,000 miles, from one side to the other. When else has that happened?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Maybe you could claim, like, the Roman Empire. But again, everything was separated by the Mediterranean back then. But to be a single landmass, and that's, the railroad reinforced that as well.
Yeah.
Railroad was a symbolism that we were one country from coast to coast, and you could travel it, quote unquote, safely, and know that you were an American regardless of what territory you were in.
For sure.
Jeff, give us your last one.
My last one, it kind of is similar to yours in a way. But mine is...
Did it happen just
Rocky
last
IV?
Night? Was it
It did. It just happened the last 4 days,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
Oh, my
I knew it.
Gosh, here we go.
No, mine is baseball
Yeah.
and football, but mostly baseball. And baseball is a microcosm of the United States. It's America's sport. It's hot dogs and, Cracker Jacks. Do they still sell Cracker Jacks?
Yeah.
Okay. So hot dogs and Cracker Jacks.
Yeah.
It's everything. How you get into the major leagues is the way Americans get into being successful. You start at a tiny little stadium in the middle of nowhere, whether you're the first pick or the last pick, and you work your butt off with success to get to the Major League Baseball. Football and basketball, them, it's like, you showed it in high school. You're going straight on the pros court. We're spread all over the country, so we represent every little small community all over the country. And as kind of a microcosm of what the United States is to around the world, this has become a world sport. It's similar to soccer in that way that, the Japanese are darn near as good pretty much as we are at baseball.
Mm-hmm.
With the Caribbean, the Dominicans, Venezuelans, Puerto Rico, Mexico, all are pumping out awesome baseball players.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball wouldn't be what it is without those countries being part of MLB. So it's that expansion of being more of a worldwide sport. People can there's a lot of different spots on baseball. In basketball, you have 15 people on a team. In baseball, you have a 25-man roster and a 40-man active roster, or 25 active and 40-man roster. You have minor leaguers that now are making, I think is a good thing, a decent wage. They're making what you would make working in the community. And so I think that baseball really signifies America.
Baseball might be our most unique sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's truly an American product, right? Every other sport feels like it plays in a similar mindset. You play on a rectangle or a rectangular shape, and that's true for basketball, for soccer, for hockey, for football, which is a game played with your hands that features a little bit of kicking.
Yeah, that one still escapes me.
But baseball, it's played on a giant pie shape. There's a diamond that extends into the pie, and you run in a counterclockwise circle should you hit the ball into play.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no other sport that's even similar to that.
No.
There's just nothing. And it is so unique. And I think the single most gratifying feeling any kid can ever have playing any sport is to hit a ball with, this bat. Originally they were wood, now they're aluminum and all of this kind of stuff. But to put a bat to the ball and to violently strike it and send it out into the playing field, it's the most fulfilling feeling you've ever had. I've scored touchdowns. I've scored baskets.
It's also like commonly held within all sports that's the hardest thing to do in sports.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
The timing is incredible that it's even physically possible.
Mm-hmm.
No sport. I don't think any sport weeds kids out faster than baseball does as they progress through the different levels as they get older and older, because the speed of it gets better.
Oh, man.
The speed of the sport is what sort of separates people. And so when that pitching crosses, 75 to 80 miles an hour, you quickly know who can continue to play and who can't continue to play. The hand-eye coordination that it takes to do that. When Mark McGwire was getting all of his guff for, coming out as having used steroids, his one pushback that he had, as he wasn't necessarily defensive, but he explained, I didn't take steroids to hit the ball farther. I took steroids because I had reached an age where my body was breaking down, and steroids helped me heal faster.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, there is nothing you can inject in your body that gives you hand-eye coordination.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, and so he's facing guys throwing, between 90 to 100 miles an hour there, as he's hitting 70 home runs in 98. There was nothing he injected that gave him the hand-eye coordination to do that. The steroids, they allowed him to get stronger, but he was taking it to help heal his joints and other things that had broken down at that point.
I've always said that the argument against Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds is not that they were faster or stronger or anything like that. It was that steroids let him be healthy. So you look at Barry Bonds, he has two careers. He has Pittsburgh and he has San Francisco. You look at those two careers separately, they're both Hall of Fame careers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He played two Hall of Fame careers. Now, his San Francisco days were different, but and Roger Clemens is the same way. He has strikeout records and he has all of these things because he played for like 25 years or 20 years. I mean, he played forever because he was healthy, and that's what steroids did,
Well, would we have American sporting events the way they are now if it wasn't for Babe Ruth?
No.
I mean, Babe Ruth probably is the most important American athlete of all time. I would rank Jesse Owens up there. If you talk about great American moments, but Jesse Owens humiliating the Germans in front of Hitler in Germany in 1936, that, as an African American man, that was huge. That
was big.
But sports didn't become an industry the way it is until Babe Ruth.
That's true.
And he is as ingrained in American culture as Washington or Lincoln or Roosevelt. You mentioned Babe Ruth, everybody knows who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I could talk about Carl Yastrzemski, and not everybody's going to know who Yaz was.
Mm-hmm.
Babe Ruth, I've had a Baby Ruth candy bar.
Yeah.
Or they just know who he is. And he transformed sporting events into spectacle, and turned it from a casual curiosity that you had back in the 1910s and 20s, early 1920s, into this like cultural phenomenon where thousands upon thousands of people were showing up to watch to see if the Babe was going to hit another one out.
Yep. No, it's very, very true. And there's, you bring up, there's different stages where it kind of went to the next stage. But yeah, Babe Ruth is really the start of launching it into a national. And really at the time, like you mentioned last episode, it was really an East Coast sport for the most part. Yeah. But he was the face of it forever. And then, you skip ahead to Jackie and Willie Mays and a lot of guys that expanded the sport and expanded. I mean, the stuff that those guys had to go through above and beyond just trying to hit that stupid ball. It's a crazy time.
It was.
And I feel for them and their family. Give us our second sponsor, Dave.
My grandpa made something implicitly clear to me, and I can see your immediate look of concern as I start to go into this, Nate.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah.
Right. He taught me 2 important lessons. Only sissies smoke filtered cigarettes.
Yes, of course.
And renting is for suckers.
Yep.
The average cost of rent on a 2-bedroom apartment here in Missoula, Montana, do you know what it is?
$1,800.
How did you know that? Oh, yeah, I quoted that in church yesterday. It's $1,800 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment here.
You thought I wasn't listening in church.
That's right. That's the only thing he heard, but he heard that.
It was something like God, Jesus, $1,800 a month for rent.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's astronomical. And I pay less than that in my mortgage on my home.
Yep.
So why throw your money away on rent when you can go out there and find a home and build equity? And who better to help you with that than Rose Chadwell at Rose Chadwell Real Estate? Rose is out there. She's the most dedicated real estate agent you can find out there. She'll walk you through the process, show you your dream home, bake you a dozen cookies for the day you move in. She has a distillery. She'll give you some of her small batch bourbon.
Yes.
She is absolutely the best. So reach out if you're looking for a home to BigSkyBrokers.com and Rose Chadwell and her team there. So email Rose at BigSkyBrokers.com.
For those cookies and bourbon, just tell her that Dave sent you.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's not write
Rose
checks
Chadwell
we can't
Realty
cash.
and Distillery.
Realty and Distillery.
I actually, I don't see why that wouldn't happen.
I know.
That's...
And dispensary.
It is, yes. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Buying a home was the best process I've ever gone through in my life.
Don't remember much of it, but it was great.
I don't. I was somewhat lucid while we were closing in escrow.
So our last segment today, we're going to go pretty quick because we're already sneaking up on an hour in, but we want to talk about the best band of the 90s. The 90s were, it was the main time I grew up. I mean, I was born in 1980, so the 90s were like teenage years and, impressionable years. So I'm curious, you got your guys' opinion. What was the best band it can be most influential, just made the best music, whatever you think. Maybe it was a one-hit wonder. What was the best band of the 90s?
I'm going to defer on this one.
Okay.
He was like, from my memory, it was the Teletubbies.
Yeah.
It was Barney.
I was born in 95, so I don't remember much of the 90s. And I wasn't really listening to much music.
Fair enough.
I'm tempted to say better than Ezra because they were slightly better than Ezra. That's an old Norm Macdonald joke.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm.
I come down.
He reminds me of
Norm Macdonald.
Norm Macdonald, yeah.
Man.
That's pretty good.
Right.
Norm's, in my opinion, the funniest guy who's ever lived.
He's great.
He was a borderline genius.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think my favorite band of the 1990s is Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah, STP is good.
Yeah, we're actually going to go see them in a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
The third iteration of Stone Temple Pilots.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the most important band to come out of the 90s is Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
In the early 90s, you were either a fan of Nirvana or Pearl Jam, and I always kind of gravitated towards Pearl Jam. Nirvana was great. Cobain had this attitude, though, that grated on me.
Did it?
There was just something about him that I was like, he represented that sort of like social outcast slacker that Never took anything seriously in high school, but he wasn't funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Pearl Jam won me over because they were the guest star or the musical guest on Saturday Night Live one time, and Sharon Stone was the host, and during her monologue, she's talking about she's playing off of the whole Basic Instinct thing, right? You know, and she's smoking a cigarette and she's doing all this, and they keep cutting to members of the cast, and they're all just like staring at her with their mouths open, like, oh. And then she mentions that Pearl Jam is there, and they cut to Pearl Jam, and they're all staring at her with their mouths open, just like they're drooling. And I was just like, oh, those guys have a sense of humor. And so I think Pearl Jam is the quintessential 90s band.
And I'm along the same lines as you, although I picked the other side. I picked Nirvana.
Yeah.
And I was always a bigger fan of Pearl Jam myself.
Mm-hmm.
But living in Seattle for 3 years and hearing people that grew up there and lived through grunge and the beginning of grunge, and all these bands played bars all over Seattle, you know, and all of them, it's pretty much universal that Nirvana like started the grunge wave. And so influential wise, but Kurt Cobain was a kook as well. I mean, like, you know, whatever you want to, I mean, anybody that can be around Courtney Love that much just has to have something wrong. You know, that she is she's one cuckoo short of a clock, you know, so.
She's a classy lady.
The Jeff Ross, you ever watch the roast of Pamela Anderson?
Yeah. Courtney loves her.
His joke, he's like, how is it possible that Kurt Cobain looks better than Courtney Love today?
Courtney Love. Whole.
But Nirvana, I mean, like I say, for myself, I was a Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, STP. That was my style. That Nirvana was fine, but I think they were the most influential to launch into the grunge era.
They killed hair metal.
Totally.
As a genre.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every hair metal band had to reinvent themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They
I
did.
agree.
You know, and the only ones that really did were Motley Crue.
Yeah.
Motley Crue was able to reinvent themselves because Dr. Feelgood came out around the same time as Nevermind by Nirvana. You know, AC/DC wasn't really hair metal, so they were able to endure it. Bon Jovi was hair metal light, but they reinvented themselves around that time. And the cultural impact of Nevermind and Nirvana was just it was a seismic shift.
It really was.
In the music culture.
And it opened up the opportunity for, you know, R&B and rap to really grow, you know, because there was a shift in listening. And
what's crazy about the 90s is beginning of the 90s, you have an explosion of hip hop, Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, Third Base, Pop Goes the Weasel.
Criss-cross, come on.
Criss-cross, yeah. And then that immediately goes in 91 to grunge in Nirvana. And then by the end of the decade, it's boy bands, Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera.
Yep.
Like how that's like a whiplash effect.
Totally.
In one decade.
Yeah. Yeah, if you look at the 80s or 70s or even the 60s, there was kind of a main genre that kind of overpowered everything. And then there was kind of the subgenres. But you're right, that was one decade that it just completely shifted mainstream listening, you know. And
alt rock died by like 97.
Totally.
Once like 98 Degrees starts pumping out their stuff, you know, whatever factory just kept creating these boy bands. They just kept popping out like,
and they just won't go away.
They won't go away.
It's popular again.
It's something.
Yeah.
So last sponsor, Montana Bond Marketing. That is us here. We are live recording this podcast. So if you want your podcasting or any sort of marketing stuff, go to mtbahn.com, or you can email me, jeff@mtbahn.com, and I can help you with a sponsorship of this podcast or another or any of your marketing needs. So think that's it, guys. Great episode. This was fun. I love talking about America. So if you want to follow us at all, please do on Instagram. Facebook's getting set up. All the podcasting platforms and YouTube. Get on there, watch us, subscribe, follow, whatever the heck they do, and you'll know when our new episodes come out every Monday. So thanks for listening. See you next time.